life is this restaurant. When you're faced with, do I either get shut down by the health department or close my doors for good, those are your only two options. What are you gonna do?
I've dropped to my knees several times, waiting to see, do we get to open?
They walk out here and they feel human. Take me to jail. Go ahead, take me to jail for that.
You talk to every owner, and they'll tell you the same damn thing. That we're dying out there.
Overnight, over 33 million Californians ordered to lock down.
A curfew from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. starts tonight and will affect businesses, including restaurants, breweries, and bars, something that could hit many that are already struggling very hard.
It is a very strict order. New guidelines issued last night by the mayor, who says he will vigorously enforce this order.
It's time to cancel everything.
Carlos, can I help with anything?
My name is Tal Zait, and I own Mazel in Los Angeles. Mazel is an Israeli vegetarian restaurant. We're also a beer and wine bar. It features just many traditional Israeli dishes, a lot of things that I was kind of raised on. I grew up here in Los Angeles, so just north of LA in like the Valencia area. I went to college in Thousand Oaks, so I stayed local my whole life, as LA gets. Both my parents were raised in Israel. They moved here in 1985, and like a real true like American immigrant story where they came with almost no money, just the clothes on their backs, just building their way up to opening businesses eventually and being successful entrepreneurs in their own right and really living, as cliche as it sounds, the American dream.
How you guys doing? You doing? Okay. My name is Amy Kwan. I own Pacific Diving Gymnastics Academy in Santa Fe Springs, California. You girls ready for state? We're a sports training center specifically to Olympic sports, gymnastics, and diving. I'm originally from Oklahoma City. Being from Oklahoma, of course, sport generally was baseball, football, basketball, but I was small, and so I would always be tumbling or, flipping.
What's your name again?
My husband and I both are in the industry of sport. My husband was born in China, and he went to the National Training Center in Beijing to be potentially their next Olympic diver. I was coaching diving in Denver, and I was an entrepreneur there. I had started my own club there, and he was here in California coaching, and so we decided better to be in the same location if we were going to continue, and so I moved to California.
My name is Sharon Dallas, and I own Pepper Tree Cafe in Glendora, California. I grew up in La Puente, California, my whole life, pretty much and that's where I met my husband as well. It was like a suburbia neighborhood, had a little rough element to it, gangs and stuff like that, but basically is a very nice place to grow up in the 70s. Pepper Tree is kind of like your old-fashioned diner, like a coffee shop. I mean, not a Starbucks for sure, but a full-service restaurant. I was inspired to open the Pepper Tree Cafe, and actually it was mostly my husband. He started off at 13 as a busboy. From the day I met him, he said, I'm gonna own a restaurant someday. And sure enough, we got the opportunity, and that's what we did. We just wanted to start our own business and not be dependent on the system. That was what we wanted most in life, was to be successful and have a great family. And I think we accomplished that over the years, Oh
man, how's everything? My name is Matthew Rimachon. I own Miss Olson's Coffee Hut in Channel Islands Harbor in Ventura County. We're pretty famous around here just for breakfast and lunch. We've been here for 47 years.
Some smoothies? Smoothie? Want some?
I grew up right in Camarillo. Yeah, and then When I was 18 years old, I got a football scholarship to Towson University back in Maryland. And I've been back in Maryland for the past 25 years. Oh yeah, thanks for your service, yeah. This restaurant, it's an icon around here. Everybody knows this place.
Yeah.
My whole life is this restaurant. I don't have anything else besides this, which I'm happy for. You know, I'm happy to dedicate literally every waking moment I have to this place.
Thank you.
My mom is actually the inspiration behind the menu itself, and so she and I worked on putting together all the food, which is basically all stuff that I had growing up as a kid. I actually built the whole place with my father. It was about a 2-year project. We did basically the entire building from scratch. But, you know, it was, as they say, kind of hate this phrase, but I gotta use it, the labor of love, you know? It was literally just the two of us, 7 days a week. But we made it to the end, and, you know, we managed to finally open eventually, which I'm very pleased and extremely proud of.
What level you got right here? Level 2? In 1996, we would bring athletes to our backyard and we would set it up with like a trampoline and a diving board, and kids would come through and get some training instruction there. I love what we do. I love everything about the sport. I love the kids. I love to see them grow. I love to see all the obstacles that they have to face. My 2 daughters are a part of the business as well. Both of them were gymnasts in the program.
Yeah, okay, so you made notation. This restaurant, when we bought it, it was definitely a gamble. You know, we put everything into it. We fixed it up, put money down on our credit cards, you know. We were a young family and just wanted to make it work. The day we opened, it was May 5th, 1997. So it's over 23 years ago. And we were just so excited. And the first day, it was just crazy, you know. Didn't make a whole ton of money that day, but it was great. It was exciting. What I enjoy most about Pepper Tree is all the customers, talking to them all, meeting them all. Our place was kind of like the Cheers, you know. You get to know all these people. I enjoy giving them a good meal and good service. And you're a part of each other's daily lives and routines.
And my parents bought Miss Olson's about 18 years ago. Corinne Olson wanted to sell the place. She had known my father for years, and my father ended up talking to her, and he took it over from her, and it's been in our family ever since. My father has dementia, so it's just too much for him to handle, and you know, with his memory loss and stuff like that, a lot of people were starting to take advantage of him and stealing. And my mom had asked me to come out here from Maryland. So about 8 days before COVID hit is when we actually, you know, had gotten my dad's name off of everything and transferred the business over to just me and my mom.
The 3-week order, now in place for much of northern, central, and southern California, prohibits in-person dining and gathering.
In just the Orange County area alone, you're looking at least 130,000 employees that are out of work.
Small businesses that have been struggling, hanging on by a thread, we could see them close. We could see hotels taken back by banks and layoffs.
So the day they announced the shutdown, I was actually in Maryland, and they started shutting things down in Maryland. And I knew it was a matter of a day or two before they would actually make it to California. And then you start seeing people wear masks. And everybody started wearing masks, and this became this thing, and it was just, it was creepy almost. It was sort of creepy how this thing came about. But I figured it would just be a couple weeks. You know, a lot of people that were tied into the government that I knew back in Maryland that worked for the government, they said this is going to be big.
We were sitting in the gym and everything was completely normal. And I got this email that came in from a parent that said, "Shut down your gym. Don't you know there's a pandemic? Flatten the curve." I had never even heard. I was like, what does that mean? Then I was watching the NBA because we have the TV on.
Clearly a conversation going on here between the officials and both head coaches. We don't know what they're talking about. And you see the teams heading back to the locker room. We will try to get to the bottom of what exactly is taking place. The fans here in the arena don't know what's going on. We don't know what's going on.
They stopped and they cleared everybody out of the stands and stopped the game.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, the game tonight has been postponed. You are all safe. And take your time in leaving the arena tonight and do so in an orderly fashion. Thank you for coming out tonight. We are all safe.
I went, oh my. When you stop the NBA, there is something happening. I was like, I'm not gonna close till somebody tells me I have to close. Not doing it. I never, ever thought I would be told that I couldn't operate my business.
I couldn't believe it. I'd never heard of that in my life. We never closed. We closed 2 days out of the year, Thanksgiving and Christmas. All the time, that's it. If we had to do repairs, they came at 10 o'clock at night and worked till 6 in the morning. And that's what we always did. To close for one day, much less 2 weeks, is like unthinkable. It never sat right with me. I knew something was up.
When I heard that non-essential businesses were closing, it was devastating. The first thing I thought was, what's deemed essential? You know, it's kind of a confusing thought. Once dining took the hit that it did, I was just at a loss. I didn't quite understand how to cope with it. With a new restaurant, any day that you're not open is a massive hit. And, you know, I was really going out of pocket those days because take-on delivery is just a fraction of what dine-in services are like.
No restaurant, no full-service restaurant can survive on takeout only. It's probably 10%, 10, 12% of our daily sales.
You know, we're a breakfast and lunch place, so to-go food is, nobody wakes up in the morning and wants to get, you know, a bunch of to-go breakfast. Who wants cold eggs?
I guess my question is, who's gonna help us? It's easy, you know, for them to put these guidelines in place, but you tell me I don't have to pay my rent. If you tell me that, if my bills aren't required to be paid, okay, maybe that's okay then. There's these grants, there's things out there for you. Do you know how many people are out trying to get those? To let go of my employees was probably the hardest phone calls I had to make.
The people who depend on me are my employees. When we had to shut down outdoor dining and move to just takeout and delivery, I couldn't keep half of them on.
You know, just shut down. Well, so your job is essential, but, you know, my waitresses, my cooks, they're not essential? Like, who determines who's essential, who's not? Everybody's a human being. Everybody's got bills. Everybody has a family to feed. They have their own selves to feed.
The ability to put food on the table, that's what's essential. There are so many people that work in hospitality, that work in the restaurant industry. When you lose the ability to do so, and you're told that it's because you're non-essential, it's a tough pill to swallow. How are you supposed to explain to your family, hey, I can't make rent this month because I'm out of work because I've been told that my job isn't as important and unemployment just isn't cutting it? What are you supposed to do? You're just kind of stuck. I suppose, I guess I'm just gonna have to wait until I can open.
On May 1st, I got a call from my husband, and he called me and said, Sharon, the house is on fire. I couldn't believe it. What? I jump in my car, and I look up in the sky, and I could see this black smoke, and I knew that was my house. So I pull up, there's like 5 firefighters and, you know, fire engines, and they're on top of my roof just punching holes in the roof, and it was unbelievable. You know, we've been here 18 years, and it was devastating. But, you know, the general public needs to realize that not only are we in the process of losing our business and our livelihood, but behind the scenes there's a lot going on.
Yeah, so we'll just clear everything out. And my dad came down with dementia. God bless him, you know, he did a great job while he was here, but, you know, that dementia is, it's a monster, you know, so he's dealing with that, and it's been, you know, extremely tough on my mom because she has to deal with that on a daily basis. Any family that's had somebody that's had dementia, you know, they understand it, and it's tough. It's tough to see someone that you love just fade day after day, you know, and there's been several times my dad's, you know, walked right past me, looked me up and down, had no idea who I was.
Our young adults who start getting recruited, especially like in gymnastics, their freshman year, sophomore year, that's all been on hold. They weren't able to go to the national championship last year. They didn't get to show their skills. And if they were someone that was the next best one that they hadn't really proven the year before, they're just skipped over and put on hold. A lot of them depend on that scholarship to be able to go and continue their future. And if that scholarship bypasses them, maybe they don't have the means to go to university. That's a dark, dark place to go when they've spent their whole life for that moment.
So I'm sure the government definitely looked into what the transmission rates were in certain industries, but I think a lot of it was done for publicity and say, hey, we're doing something that's going to slow the spread of this pandemic. Don't you see all these restaurants are closed, all these hair salons and nail salons are closed. Don't blame us when it comes to the infection rates growing. We did what we could. Was that the right course of action? From what I've gathered and from what I've seen, a lot of, you know, the transmission doesn't necessarily happen when you're dining, or there's a higher rate of transmission doing other tasks. There are definitely other businesses that are still operating that would probably be just as dangerous, if not more.
You know, they're shutting down my business, they're shutting down these gyms, but they're keeping Walmart open and Costco and all these places are open. So how can they be open and we're not allowed to be open is beyond me.
Banks had problem getting loan applications into the Small Business Administration's overwhelmed computer system yesterday. Another $310 billion is available after the initial $349 billion ran out in just 13 days.
And then they want you to take out these PPP loans, SBA loans, and you know, there's no guarantee of forgiveness on any of that.
After being shut down for 3 months, actually after 2 months, we finally got the PPP loan. And the way that it was structured, you had to use it on employees and your rent. So that loan lasted 1 month, I think.
And then they did that, what was it, like end of May? They allowed to reopen the dining room. And I'm like, oh, okay, we're done. This is over, you know. And that didn't happen. I think on like July 2nd or July 3rd, they closed it again. But this time I think it was outdoor dining. So there we go, now we're at outdoor dining. So we put up these big tents, and like everyone else, dragged out our dining room tables and chairs, and they're heavy, and it's a pain in the you-know-what. A few weeks later, we have a big wind. We go to work the next day, the whole tent's blown up, the bars are bent, you know, it's just whatever. So I came into work and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna serve indoors. Screw it.
There was a couple other restaurants I saw on the news. Those guys are starting to make a stand. And at that point in time, something had just come over me. I felt that was my next thing to do. So I decided to stay open.
So I opened my doors, we started seating and serving inside, and pretty much everyone was just so happy just to have some sense of normalcy again. And I was happy to do it, and I was thrilled to have seating customers inside again. So we did that for about 5 or 6 days. And guess who shows up? Health department. They came in and they cited us for non-compliance. They had pictures of me without a face mask. I know, I'm bad. They had pictures of patrons in the dining room. It was a $500 fine. So I'm gonna appeal, right? Because none of these health orders are laws. There's no code based on any of these orders. And if you look up what it was, it just says health and safety. It's just a general heading of health and safety, and that's it. Initially, when I decided to stay open, the health department, what they do is they give you a warning, basically, and saying, you know, you need to shut down, you know, bring your tables in and this and that. But, you know, I had made the decision that I was all in. You know, I wasn't turning back, and until they could prove that I was actually doing something wrong, show me some sort of science, do anything. So they came, they gave me my closure notice. They took my business license, and they're trying to evict me. They charged me as a public nuisance, saying that I'm causing death, basically saying I'm a murderer. I'm going into court before people that are actually true murderers. They're you know, pushing those people off so they can have restaurant owners in court. They tried to shut us down the second time. It was 19 days before Christmas. You know, so I got to look at 28 employees. Half of them are single parents. You know, I'm single mothers. You know, multiple kids, and you know they're struggling as it is. They live week to week, and then you know they're going to shut us down. They're not going to compensate us for it. They're just said, you know, you're done, shut down. So you know, I couldn't look my employees in the face anymore. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the heart to do it, and it didn't feel right to do that. And it felt right that you know to stay open. Have we gone into debt? Well, yeah, my mom had used a bunch of close to $425,000 of her retirement. Yes, it was of her money that she actually, you know, lent to business in order for it to stay open. Over $150,000 so far is the debt that we've incurred. That we have to find a way to make that up. I understood in the beginning about we're having a pandemic and we need to all stay in and learn more about what's going on. That's understandable. And we did that and we adapted to that. But 2 months, then 3 months, then 4 months, and we're still not understanding how to develop and be able to open safely is unfathomable. I've dropped to my knees several times, waiting to see, do we get to open? One of the phrases that bother me so much is we're all in it together. And we're not. People that are still getting a paycheck and not losing money every month, we're not all in this together. For them to say that we're all in this together is an insult to me. Because when we opened this business, we gave it all. My husband worked 6 days a week for years. One thing that people don't understand, they don't see what's going on out there. They think, yeah, we miss going out to dinner. And, you know, you do, I miss going out to dinner and stuff, but they don't realize behind the scenes, a lot's going on. That a lot of people are losing their livelihoods. And businesses that we've had for years.
It's okay. Take your time. Take your time.
This isn't a joke. Go to every restaurant and you talk to every owner, and they'll tell you the same damn thing. That we're dying out there.
way those in charge thrust restrictions on people during the pandemic, that's kind of driven a wedge into the United States. You find yourself on one side of the argument or the other. This country stood for the idea of, entrepreneurial spirit and the ability for anybody to sort of do whatever they want with their lives. Does that still exist in 2021, that mentality? It's hard to say.
I just never realized that this could happen in America.
My husband's an immigrant. He's from China. We really believe in America, we believe in freedom. My husband feels that this is very much like a communistic society, something he grew up in, and he's completely against it. The reason coming to America was to be able to dream and be whoever you want to be, and without the government telling you if you can do that or not do that.
If they were to issue another lockdown, if another virus, they're already saying another variant is coming, whatever. If they ever issue another lockdown, there will be no small business.
This wasn't handled properly. I think it's important to kind of speak out. I'm a part of, these restaurant groups, the independent restaurant coalitions, all sorts of small businesses that have joined these forces that are trying to make it heard in local and federal government levels that whenever these lockdowns happen, there's such an impact.
I feel at this point, everything's taken away. I have nothing to lose. We've mortgaged our home. We've done everything to build this business. We've been here 18 years. People rely on us, depend on us. I have nothing to lose. I have nothing to lose. You take it away, you're gonna drag me out.
A lot of business owners are just tired of being told what to do with no reason. I realized that, if I did this, I wouldn't be alone. And that's when we started the whole coalition. Brave started about 2 months ago. We brought in a bunch of businesses, hair salons, gyms, nail salons, restaurant owners. We were supposed to only have 8 people when it started. 2 days later, we had 120 people here show up for an initial meeting. And now, it's in full motion. So what they're trying to do is just pick everybody off one by one, because by yourself, they can destroy you, right? So now we get as a group, they didn't like that. This is probably the first time somebody's pushed back. They're just so used to telling people what to do, and they do it. They try and scare you. That's all they do. They try and scare you. But, I'm not afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them at all. So what? At the end of the day, if I lose this place, at least I went down fighting. At least I went down knowing that in my heart what's right.
Closing up shop just isn't an option. I'm, not gonna go down without a fight, and I'm not gonna lay down quietly while everything gets, ripped apart in front of my eyes.